All right, welcome back to In the Mix with the Mitchells. And we are so excited for this segment where we're just having a girl talk,
Yes,
right?
I love
This
this.
is our purposely designed for married women. And I am so happy. I am Sanita Mitchell. And I am so happy to have Tanisha here with me. Tanisha, could you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So I am Tanisha O. If you watch the T, Tanisha OKK. I'm the author of Empowered Stepmother, Grow, Glow, and Thrive Harmoniously in Your Blended Family. And I'm super excited to be here chatting with another lady about this topic that is very, very near and dear to my heart. I started my journey with two biological children, and my husband had one precious gift in a son. And so together we are our blended family. Blending Our Love Incorporated is our company name. And here we go on this journey that I did not know. I heard you mention whether or not I thought that I would be in a blended family. I was open to it, but I had this rule. When I met my husband, the kids were like middle school age. So the child had to be 10. Like I had this very hard rule. Like anybody who came in my life, your child needed to be 10 because I did not want to deal with the nonsense of a young child. And then I meet my husband who has a 1.5-year old.
Oh, my goodness.
That's what I said. I was like, oh no, this is not what we signed
Right,
up
right.
for. Like this is much younger than the 10. It wasn't even 5.
Right, didn't even meet you halfway.
Not at all.
Right.
But what do you do when love calls? And so here we are on this journey that we
Right.
were on, and it was an adventure.
Right. So okay. So he had a son when you met.
Yes.
And 1.5. So what was that like? Because I know like we were both single parents, single moms, and we're out there on our grind, and we got this list. Like I know Tony used to have this list. I barely made it because Tony was like 2 was his cutoff. You know what I mean? Like 2 kids.
Oh,
that's
that
it.
was a max.
Right.
Got
So I had a minivan, and so he was like, "Well, how many kids does she have? Why she driving a minivan? How many? Wait, is this her parents' car?" And then when he found out it was my car, he was kind of like, "Wait a minute now, how many kids does
You were
this lady?"
transporting children
Right, I
around.
was just
I love
transporting
it.
kids, but no, but I barely made it. And so, how did that impact you when you found out that he has a son and he's 1.5? So he's way 9 years,
Yes.
under your cut.
Yes. Well, I didn't have any intention of dating my husband, so when I found out he had a 1.5-year-old, I was like, "Congratulations, it's awesome." We worked together, so it wasn't gonna be that
Okay.
type of party as far as I was concerned. But as life would have it,
Right.
it was different. So once we did begin dating, it was fun to me because I had these middle school age children, and now this little guy, and he was just so sweet.
Right.
He was sweet. Terrible twos definitely kicked in, but it was awesome. And so he meshed so well with the older kids because they had this little fun child to play with, somebody to kind of run around with. So it was perfect for us. There wasn't that rivalry when you have children maybe around the same age and they're competing because no one's competing with
With the 1.5.
yeah,
Right.
it worked out.
So at what point, so this is another question I get asked. What point did you feel okay to introduce the children?
Oh,
Like how long did you date before the children were involved? But first, tell me how long did you guys date? Well, we could do that.
both
So,
how long we dated
How long you dated
before we were
and then
married.
and then when did you introduce the children? Because that's key. A lot of people
Yes.
who may be dating and they're trying to figure out when should they introduce their children.
Right. How long we dated? We dated for almost 4 years before we were married. So we dated
Okay.
for a while. We did not live together,
Okay.
but we did date for almost 4 years. And I can't remember. So we worked together. So our relationship was a little different because we saw each other every single day, literally.
Okay.
So we were around each other a lot. I can't remember how long we dated before. It was a couple months before the kids met him.
Right.
But once they did meet, it was smooth sailing because we hit it off, and how I was so excited about this little.
Little person.
Yes,
They
he
so
was
cute.
fun. I
Wooed you
know.
in. He wooed you in.
Exactly.
It was a setup.
It
You knew
was.
Yeah.
I know.
Right.
I was like, he can come over and sit and play.
Right.
The kids were like, "Oh, bring Ike over." Dress him up. It was fun.
He was like, yeah, come on, bring my son with me. Let me woo her.
Yeah. Or drop him off.
Right.
He dropped them off, which was fine. Because, you know, we're in real estate. We're real estate brokers.
Oh, okay.
So if he has a house to show, you have to have the baby. Yeah, it wasn't a 9 to 5 type of thing. So there were times where you needed, you know, and I was fine with that. I was like, okay.
Look at you.
I know.
Yes, sucker.
Still wasn't 10, but it was
right.
okay.
Yes.
I love
So
him.
yes, and so you guys all merged in. So tell us a little bit about how that was, because we're building a foundation before we get to your book. But we want to talk about like just that foundational piece of, did it take you guys, I know you said everything was wonderful, but how did you guys deal with the issues? Like, I'm sure that you can, because you didn't write a book on just you know, unicorns and rainbows, right?
It would have been nice.
But you had to have some challenges.
Absolutely.
So how did you, well, let's talk about, because we've been talking about communication,
right?
So how did you and your husband set up the boundaries, the communication? How did y'all set up how you were going to communicate with each other?
Sure. So a couple things. I think you asked the one question were, how was everything? Things were great, because while we dated, there was something that was important to me, was how involved he would be with my children before we were married. You know, women, we sometimes lose ourselves. Oh, I got a man, and then we forget too many things. So what was important to me was how he interacted with the older two children. They were really active in sports even now. Middle son plays college basketball. Baby girl cheered through college. So they're really athletic. So even through high school at the time, is he willing to come to the games? Did he invest and do those things? Because if he wasn't for me.
Wow.
And I was very clear on that, you know. And so he was at the games, and, you know, and he involved himself in himself. And so our family unit, the 5 of us, we connected well. The older children were open to having and being loved and loving him. The one thing that we did was we didn't allow like the older kids to say, I asked my mom, and not include him. So that was kind of where we made it very clear. There is no I asked my mom, because then it makes it yours and mine, and we weren't doing yours and mine. These are our children.
Ooh, that's good.
And that's where the step.
Could you say that again?
Absolutely.
Say that again.
Yours and mine.
Yeah.
We didn't do
nice
yours and mine. For the people in the back.
For the people in the back. Right.
So there was no yours and mine. It was just ours. We just committed to loving these children together, you know. And so with that, it took away the children's ability, because it's a full package. He and I couldn't commit to loving them, and then we allowed the children to shift from what our family values were going to be. Right. So when they wanted to go somewhere, they weren't allowed to just call me. Oh, I'm going here. No, you have to talk to him as well. Ask me, let me know. The same way you handle things when you're in a family with 2 people who gave birth to children.
Come on in.
You set the expectation, you set the tone, and so we have family meetings regularly.
Yes.
Anybody could call a family meeting. If everyone wasn't present, it wasn't a family meeting. And so there, everyone was able to voice their opinions. And I think part of my legal background, I was a paralegal before I was in real estate. I'd be like, okay, bring your notepads, bring your notes. You can't interrupt anybody in the meeting. Yeah, even little Ike, he was there with the scribble scrabble. But it worked, you know, like it worked. It set our boundaries.
Well, you were serious, man. Bring a legal pad.
Yes, but it worked. You should try. If you don't do it, really try it. And it allowed everyone, especially in the midst of conflict, because people want to interrupt each other. No, it's not. No. If you don't agree, you write your thought down. And when it's your turn, you can go back to share your thought on what it is, so that people can express what they feel. And that's how we were able to maneuver through what we were going through.
Wow,
now, our system was doing good. I was like, yes, baby, we got this thing down, until we got married. Oh, man, my reality was like, Danielle came and was like, no, this is not how this is going to work.
Now, who is Danielle?
So Danielle is Ike's biological mother.
Okay. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
So that's when reality shifted to your question of...
So let's talk about that, because, again, we're talking about the bio mom and the bonus mom. So, Danielle, so while you were dating, how was your interaction with her? Was she like, it's okay, you just a girlfriend, but...
You know, I fell back. As a girlfriend and a fiance, she wasn't... I was paying attention. I always talk about those red flags. You need to pay attention to what is happening,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't involved. I didn't overstep my boundaries
Ooh,
to try to jump in and say something. I'm the girlfriend. I'm the fiance. I knew what my role was. We weren't living in the same home, so she wasn't impacting my household.
Right.
However, when my last name changed and we lived in the same house and the same shenanigans came, see, now you're impacting my household, and now we have to make a different decision because this is my husband that you're disrespecting, and I can't have another woman speaking to my husband in a tone in which I don't speak to him. So we had to make some changes. So I first said, okay, here's the guidelines. If you're not able, willing, or ready to communicate with him respectfully, we're going to change how we communicate, and you'll just talk to me.
Okay.
And that's how it came about, her and I constantly communicating, because it wasn't working out.
Okay.
At all.
And we're going to stop right there because that is such a good point to put a pencil right there. We're going to come back because it is true. My next question will be about boundaries and when to establish boundaries. So stay tuned. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
I'm just saying.
Welcome back.
Hey, everybody.
We are having so much fun in this studio tonight, okay? So we were just at a pivotal moment where we were talking about boundaries. And so I want to, because it's so much, we could spend like the whole night talking about bio moms, bio mom and the bonus mom. So right now we're going to talk about can the stepmom, because she's now moved from girlfriend, where she was saying that everything was cool while she was in the girlfriend role, but the moment that he put not one ring on it, but 2 rings on it and made it official, then all chaos. Like they said, all hell broke loose after that, right? And so now, I like what you said about while you were dating, you kind of held back. Because I think a lot of times, when ladies are in a dating relationship, they're trying to figure out, I want to show him that I'm, wife material, mother material. I'm going to love his children or child. And I'm going in and I'm trying to make sure everything works together. But sometimes it can become a little bit overzealous. Right. And maybe let's talk about not just boundaries, but the unrealistic expectations on everybody's just going to come together. Yes. And the ex-girlfriend or the ex-wife is just going to love me. And we're going to work together. And we're going to have family dinners. And we're going to go on vacations together.
I didn't even want that, but yeah. Yeah, I'm being truthful.
See, now I want you to be honest. So why you didn't want that? Because that's important, because you said you didn't even want that. Is it? Yes. Why do you feel like you didn't want that?
Well, there's a couple things that you touched on, but at that time, I saw the type of person that she was. Mm-hmm. She wasn't somebody I was going to be friends with. Right. She wasn't friend material as far as I was concerned, right? Because I was judging her in whatever pain she was in, but I didn't want to be friends with her. I was okay with that.
Right. So it's okay, because we've talked about this on numerous times, that it's okay that the stepmom, or we're talking about stepmom, or the girlfriend and the bio mom are not friends. Like, it's okay if y'all not meeting up to go shopping.
I'm
it's
not
okay.
shopping with Danielle today.
Right. And how long has it been? How long have you been married?
Well, we've been together 10 years now. We still don't shop. Now, she comes to the house. We've had vision board parties. Her and I have a good time. Right. But we don't go get our nails done together. And she's not calling me with her relationship problems. And I'm not calling her. But we have a definitely mutual love for Ike. And so, but I won't jump ahead.
Right. No, that's good, because I think that is key, because I think you bring forth the reality that I can still be cordial with this other woman, and of course it took you some time to get to that point, right? And that's the other part, right? It took time, right? Because you were saying you guys dated for 4 years, and then now you've been married, 6 years?
Yeah, well, actually it's 11.
11, so
sorry, 7 years.
Oh, yes, she forgot.
I know. Don't judge me. I have other things on
That's
my mind.
okay.
He knows I'm here.
Right. But it took time to get to the point where you're going to vision board parties. right? And you're doing
Right.
parties and you're doing things together. It can be, let's be honest, in the same room together
Right.
and not have no type of angst.
Correct.
Right? So I think
Yeah.
that's important because sometimes people think, oh man, we've been together for 13 years or we've been together even 3 years and we should be on beyond this.
Somewhere else.
Yeah, we should be
Yes.
able to do this. What am I doing wrong?
Right.
What is she doing wrong? And it may not be anything. You just may be okay with dropping them all.
Right.
Doing the
Doing what you do.
exchange,
Exactly.
visitations, doing any holiday things that you guys have set up. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about stepmoms because we're talking about the wives right now. Can they overstep? Can they go over boundaries or get too involved?
Yes, absolutely. So I had to check myself, just to be real. While we dated, when I say I didn't get too involved, I was definitely involved and committed to Ike.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get involved with the arguments or whatever he was going through with her. You know, I know sometimes girlfriends or fiancés will jump in and they're arguing with
Not
them.
my man.
Yes.
You ain't gonna talk to him like that.
Exactly.
Right.
I didn't.
Right.
And I think that that's what threw her off.
Right.
Because I was quite quiet
Wow.
through it all.
Mm-hmm.
But once we were married, I was like, there's a new sheriff in town, and this is not how this is going to work.
Right.
I gave you 4 years to work it out your way, and it didn't work. So now we have to shift the whole game, and that's how the boundaries were set and established.
So let's tell them specifics. Like, how did you set the boundaries? Did you all, like, you, your husband, and her, y'all all sat in a room? Or did you just say, look, girl, you need to come over? Was this a face-to-face conversation or was this on the phone?
It was everything you just said.
Okay. So it was multiple times,
It
right?
was, after we were in court, there were
Wow.
restraining orders, there was all of that. We met with her mother, and her father with the
Wow.
hopes that somebody else could help her with some,
Right.
some like get right, act right. We did it all, literally.
Wow.
And the thing is the one thing that I will say allowed me to shine as the mother that I am, stepmother, if you will, is my husband.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question. I mean, it makes me sad when I hear so many women talk about their husbands and say, he doesn't have a backbone. And I'm thinking, well, why did you marry him?
Right.
You know, like, that's
That's on you.
Yeah.
Right, you the one said that I
you
do.
signed up for that. I
Right.
didn't sign up for that. I knew who I married. And my husband, man, that dude is a rider. So every single time she made comments like, your wife, neck rolling included, needs to stay in her lane. My husband said, whatever problem you have with my wife, you better get over it. She's the only person you're going to be talking to when it comes to deal with it.
Wow.
Figure it out. I don't want to
Okay.
hear it. If there's a problem with him in school, you're going to hear from her. I'm not calling you. Don't call.
Wow.
Because he was very clear. And so even when she kept trying to call his phone or send text messages, he would always call from my phone. Or have me, please respond to her to see what she needs. Please let her
Wow.
know. So he held his ground because
Yeah.
he had come to his breaking point. And what was happening is, together we were able to see, I said, love, look at the destruction that it's causing in Ike. Because the pain was more in our baby boy than anyone else. And it was causing friction between him and his baby boy. And so we had to be the adults. I said, love, we can't control Danielle. We can only control our house. We're responsible for what happens here. And so when he and I sat together, and the rules of engagement and the boundaries are all in there, all the step by step, but we literally sat together to decide what it was going to look like for our home. And that's what it was going to be. And if both of us weren't on the same page with making a shift or a change, then no change was happening.
Right.
And so that's how we got to the place of peace and harmony, because he was so happy. Fellas, if you're watching, if you have a woman in your life, and hopefully you married a woman who you can trust enough to give this responsibility to without her taking it to another place. If you can trust her and let her do that. Because my husband was like, best decision ever. Because now he wasn't dealing with drama.
Right.
I would come home and, do you know what Danielle did? He said, I don't even care. Like,
he like, that's your problem. That's your headache.
Exactly.
Right, you
like,
deal with it.
You signed up for that nonsense. Go on with you. You're doing good, baby.
Yeah.
You know, he
rubbed
man, good job,
dang,
sweetie.
man. Oh, you handled that
And
good.
he was done.
Yeah.
Had nothing else.
And that's good, because I know, like, once you've established the boundaries, it's so important that all parties adhere to the boundary.
Yes.
And I think that's where a lot of wives become frustrated is, and sometimes the bonus mom can seem like the villain.
Yes.
Because the husband won't, like, so after they've had this encounter with the bio mom, then the husband goes back to the wife and he's saying what he says to her.
Right.
And but in front of the bio mom,
Yes.
you don't stick up for what
Yes.
you're saying to your wife.
Exactly.
And so when the wife and the bio mom engage, it's like the bio mom is like, well, he ain't saying nothing,
Exactly.
and he ain't
So
having
you're
no
the person-
problem,
exactly.
and so it's you,
Exactly.
right? And
All the
so
time.
it's like you're the issue,
Exactly.
right now. You as the bonus mom is sitting there like, I'm not the issue,
No.
because when you leave, he's telling me these
Exactly.
things. So it's so important, and I love that because Tony does the same thing. Like Tony is very much, there's no doubt about
Right.
where he stands on certain
Exactly.
things,
Clear.
and we are clear.
Yes.
Like, so we've had conversations where we've had to have one of the parents come over, and we've had to squash disagreements. It was very hard.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's a lot out of us
course.
because we already had some issues,
Yes.
you know, and so now, you know, it was impacting our son, and so it's like we got to have this conversation.
Yes.
And so I think that's so important, very, very important. I'm glad you said that.
I think that the men
Because
play a
that's
huge
what I was
role.
gonna say. The men do play. They draw, especially since we're talking about
and they
the
try to
wives.
fall back too hard. They just try to fall back. You cannot. These are your children that you gave birth to. If you want to say she's crazy, you slept with that crazy.
Right, you slept
Yeah,
with
yeah, you did.
I wasn't there.
Exactly, you
Right.
did all of that.
Right.
And so now is not the time to walk away. And so the conversation my husband and I had was, I said, look, love, you picked me to be your wife. One wife. Either we're going to work this out, or you're going to get another wife. Because I won't have another woman run my house.
Right.
She will not dictate how things are going to work in my house. It doesn't work that way for me.
Right.
Just as my husband would absolutely not allow another man to dictate our house. And so I think that in blended family situations, too often everyone is worried about everyone else's feelings. And so the husband, because we're on the wives segment,
Right.
but it could go both ways. The husband is worried about how the ex is going to feel.
Right.
Listen, the relationship didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work for
Right.
whatever reason. So now you're going to keep the person that it didn't work with happy, so that you can fail the person that you are now committed to and that you said forever with. Like, you have to pick.
That's
You
good.
can't have both.
You can't
You
make
cannot
both.
have both.
Impossible.
No, and even when it came to Danielle, you know, she always was a little more ginger with my husband. I always had to tell her, listen, Danielle, I'm going to need you to get your own man because mine is not available.
Right.
I told her that regularly. My husband is not available. I need you to get you a man. Now, keep him.
Do you think
and stay
that
with him.
plays a role if the bio mom doesn't have a significant?
She had a man, and then she was still. I said, "Does your come on?" Now.
Maybe she just had moved on.
Whatever.
But
it
just
was.
in your experience, though, if not just dealing with her, but
Yes.
people that you've talked to, my friends are like, I love her.
Thank you.
They're like, I love her. So it's like, but it's true. You
Yes.
can't allow another woman to come into your home. It's
Not
just
at
like,
all.
it doesn't even work in a mother-daughter relationship.
Right.
Like, it's only so long before my mom would be like, this is my kitchen.
Yes.
You gonna cook and clean in my kitchen the
Yes.
way I want it to
I
be.
told them
When
that
you
way.
wanna
Do your
own, you get your own house and you'll
Do
have a
what you-
kitchen.
yes.
Right?
But
And
for now-
But for now, as for
Uh-huh.
now, this is my kitchen,
Exactly.
right? And this is the way it's gonna flow.
Exactly.
And so I think that's key. And so we're gonna take a quick break. And then we're going to come back because we're going to talk about your book. Because I think your book is very key.
Thank you.
So we're going to take a 2-minute break and we'll be right back.
All right.
Welcome back. And we are having such a juicy conversation.
Yes, we are.
I mean, this is really, really going by so fast. Oh my gosh. So we've been talking about boundaries. We've been talking about a whole lot of things. But now we're going to get to the ego piece.
Oh.
Right? You know, ego. I think Beyonce had a song about an ego, but she was talking
did.
about, was she talking about herself? I can't even remember. But anyway, she has a song, Ego, right? And sometimes our egos, our pride, our own inner, you know, what we want can sometimes overtake
Yes.
the situation.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about a time when you had to confront your ego.
A time.
Or
All
times.
the times. Like,
Right.
you could spend
Are
the
you
rest
still
of the
dealing
year.
with your ego now?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All the time. So my biggest challenge that I had as a stepmother was, first of all, I knew too much.
Okay.
Because I had two children that were older, as I mentioned, and Ike was their first child. So
Right.
I'm like, I got this parenting thing down. I've been
Right.
doing it for 13 years. What you want to know?
Right.
Come on over here. Let me tell you how to do it. You know, like that was the thing. And,
Yes.
and of course, there were a lot of aspects that I did know more of. And then and now we're married, and I have this baby boy. First off, I did not know that we would have custody of him. When I married my husband,
Wow.
I thought that Ike was gonna come visit every other weekend.
Wow.
And it was gonna be great every other weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So how did that impact?
Yes.
Because a lot of people, I'm in a lot of groups that deal with that. And I know we're going to talk about ego. We're going to go back to ego because that's how women are, guys. Don't try to keep up.
Yeah.
Women are spaghetti.
If
Y'all
they have
are
a man,
waffles.
they
Look, we done
know.
left the compartment of the ego. And we're now going to talk about
But all the ladies, let them know that
are
they're
like,
with
oh
us.
yeah, let's talk about that. Right?
They're with us.
They're with us with no problem, right,
so
ladies?
we're gonna segue into something else. We'll come back.
How did you cope with not the men in the audience like, wait, what just happened? Right? But how do you deal with that? Like real quick, like you went from visitation every other weekend or every weekend to child moved in.
Right.
Like that is significant.
Are you telling me? Well, yeah, I know. And I'll tell you the time in which it happened also. So he was with my husband 1 week on, 1 week off. They rotated weeks, right? So I had this plan. By the time we were married, baby girl was a senior, going into her senior year of high school. Baby boy was in his junior year. I had already mapped out my life because they were on their way to college and life was going to be sweet, you know?
Wow.
We got Ike every other weekend because he was starting school soon, no more week on. Great. I can be on the beach with an umbrella in my drink every other weekend if I want to, right?
Right.
No.
Wow.
Now I'm back at PTA meetings. What just happened?
Wow.
Yeah, it was because I'm a very involved parent. Right. So I couldn't just not go to PTA. And then the kids were complaining because Ike wasn't in sports and they were in sports and he has to have exactly what we have.
Right.
Yes. So all of those things. And so it was a shock for me. And I'm going to be honest, I resented her. Wow. Really. Wow. I was like, and I told her this, don't try this at home, but I did tell her this. I'm being honest because you asked me to be honest and very transparent. I'm not proud of what I said, but I told her, I resent you for not being a good mother. And now I have to raise your child because you refuse to do your job. Wow. And my husband was so mad at me and he was like begging me, please say sorry. I said no. So that was part of my problem. Like I say, you know, it's okay to be honest, but how you say things is important. Me, I just said it and I meant it. So he was telling me to say sorry. I was like, now you're telling me to lie. I meant what I said. Right. I'm upset right now that I have to shift my entire life. And it didn't mean that I didn't love him. I loved Ike. Right. I still love him unconditionally, but I did not know that my entire life was going to shift. And now I'm picking up from daycare because I told you my husband had a different, you know, because I was on the corporate side of life at this time. So I got to readjust my schedule to pick him up every day at 6 o'clock and do homework. Yeah. Now I'm doing, what just happened? I was a teenage mother. Like, I'm not trying to be selfish. And even if I do sound selfish, I'm okay with that. Okay. I had my first baby at 18. Yeah. And I had my second baby 8.5 months later. At 19, I had 2 children. And I was excited about shipping them off to college just to breathe. You know, to find out what I like, what do I love. And now I'm at a doggone PTA meeting. So now we have my resentment. On top of me knowing it all, we gotta make sure I give you this full picture. I know it all. I'm resentful, and you have the nerve to have an attitude, and I'm raising your child. So now all these things, I'm like, and you're ungrateful. What in the world? Yeah. You know, like it was all these things, and so the bitterness was just getting heavier and heavier, and between that and trying to raise adult children, you know, adults will be adults, and so so I literally went into a complete depression. I just broke down, shut down. I lost it. And as social as I am, like my husband was like forcing me out of the house because I was like, I can't keep doing this. This is not working. And so I picked up a book and you guys will have to grab the book, my book, in order to find out how all that happened. But that journey was what led me to be where I am today. And so I had to lose my ego, and I had to find the beauty in Danielle. And
Ooh,
before,
say that again.
I had to find the beauty in Danielle. But ladies, before you're able to find the beauty in anyone else, you have to see it in yourself first. And so I began to love who I am, every beautiful imperfection that I have, everything. And I realized that every ill word that was ever spoken of me was exactly what I needed in order to grow and push through and become who I am today. And every shoulder that I stood on was who I needed in order to grow. And so I used all of the bad things and fueled them into good. And that's what led me to be where I was. And so I stopped looking for all the things that I had that weren't in common with Danielle. And I looked for, what do we have in common? We're both women.
Right.
And the next thing was, we both loved our children, even if we didn't show love in the same way. I had to stop judging her. So when I stopped judging her, that's when everything began to unfold. And I stopped judging her when I stopped judging myself so hard.
What were you judging yourself on? Like, just an example, like when you say you was judging yourself so hard, because I do think that, just in preparing again, is sometimes you can judge yourself. One, as a woman, we tend to be like our worst critic.
Absolutely.
But now you are in this bonus mom role and you're judging yourself.
Right.
So how did you judge yourself?
Oh my gosh, there were so many things. You know, now that the children were older, I was looking at the things that I looked at as failures, because I was viewing them the way I thought that they should be, instead of just letting them live their life the way that they're going to roll out their lives. So this happens, moms out there listening, or parents, whether you give birth or you don't give birth, we still have to allow them to go through their own cycles and their own lives. And so I judged myself for that. There were so many things, and you'll have to read the book. I don't want to keep coming back to the book, but I don't want to give it all away. But
yeah, you got to buy the book.
Exactly. But there were so many things. But I realized that it all came down to me thinking that I was perfect, and nobody else's way was perfect.
Wow.
And it hindered me from growing.
Ooh, that's
and
good.
It hindered me from building. I mean, it was building blocks, and even in my marriage, because the one thing that I know is that the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. And so if you think that there's just a communication barrier between you and the ex, because of the ex, I promise it's showing up in your spouse as well, in your relationship with them. It's showing up at work. And it was just spilling over, just toxic, you know, in so many places. And so I had to become accountable for me and my ego and all of my nonsense. Because you know what? The one thing that I noticed the most is, when you hear a woman talking about her blended family, when it's not successful, the very first thing that we always say is what the other person isn't doing.
Right.
It's not working because of her.
This.
And my husband isn't this. And the kids ain't this. And what about your own negative energy that you are bringing into this situation? And if everything that you're saying is negative, you're bringing something into that relationship that is negative. And so we have to be responsible and accountable for what we can control, which is ourselves. And I had already seen what I did to the older two kids with just my nonsense. And I was not going to do that twice. There was no need to do that twice. And so once I got over myself, things became smooth. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't even know if she changed. She might be the exact same way she always was. But because my viewpoint of her changed, she changed to me.
Right.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
It looked different to me.
Because the perception, because of your growth, because of you working on yourself. And that is key. As we come to almost the end, it's like we really have to stop and turn that mirror around. And that's whether you are, like we said, if you're in a blended family, or you just in a, you're married and you're not in a blended family, is you got to look at yourself. It's not until you look at yourself and work on you that you, once you start, looking at yourself and revealing those things and learning those things and taking ownership and not being like, oh no, I'm just going to ignore that piece.
It's easy to blame.
That's because that's
their fault. It's because of the mom and the daddy.
Said this. That's what's drawing out this negativity from me.
Yes.
But when it's just like, no, my attitude is just a little funky. funky.
Real
and
bad, yes.
I'm angry about this situation because
Right.
this is not the way I anticipated
Exactly.
it going. And
Exactly.
I know how that is because I had my first son when I was 17, and then I had the next one when I was 25, right? And so it's just like, I grew up with that first one.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
That's
we,
so mine.
we
Yeah.
you know, it's like we grew up. I went through a lot of mistakes. I was, just crazy because
Right.
I didn't know myself. I didn't love myself.
Exactly.
And so all of that spills over into them, and then you
Right.
spend all that time trying to rectify. But, so as we close, what would be 3 things that you would tell a bonus mom, a stepmom, right now who feels like maybe she's not getting the support from her husband, or maybe she's frustrated and feeling like nobody is on her side with this situation, or she has no one to vent to? What can she do to improve outside of looking at herself? So let's say that's one of the main things. So she's looking at herself and she's like, okay, I'm trying to make changes, but how can she improve? Like, what can she do to deal with the frustration, to deal with the disappointment?
Right. Well, this looking at yourself, you have to stop there first. There's no way around that. I wish I could tell you, because if I could have avoided the pain that I went through, I put myself through, I would have. So once you get past that, I would definitely say you have to, unfortunately, lose any expectation that you have of what it's supposed to look like.
Ooh, that's
because
good.
it may not look the way you want it to look,
good.
but it doesn't mean it's not perfect. That's
that is so good. I'm sorry, because that's hard. I hate, because when you think about all the people, it's just kind of like the expectations. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
it's okay.
That
It's
is so good.
But it's so true. So once you lose the expectations, and also just remember, it's a relationship that you're building. So to come in and think that you can just flash your badge to say, I'm married to your daddy, so you're gonna respect me, nobody's doing that.
Right.
Take the time to build a relationship with that child. And I give some really great examples of how to, in the book, with that child as a person. We spend a lot of time individually. I have my own personal relationship with Ike. My husband has his own personal relationship with Damien. He has his own personal relationship with Shantia. Then we have our own thing all together. He and I make time for each other, just the two of us. The 3 of them do their own thing. We do family things. You have to build these relationships. And the real true reality is it takes years to form this. So if you're looking at me and thinking, oh, this is great, she has it figured out, I will say, don't compare someone else's strength to your weakness.
Woo! Pause. Say it again.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Don't compare someone else's strength to your weakness. So if you're looking at me and you're thinking she has it figured out, or maybe you're judging me thinking that's a bunch of BS, there's no way she did that, you don't know my pain. You don't know my struggle. You don't know what we went through and who I had to become to be the woman sitting in front of you today. I had to go through a lot to get there. And you too are empowered to do that, which is why I shared Empowered Stepmother, because I wish I had a book or something to help me out. But don't compare your journey. And I'm telling you this one thing in closing. If your sentence is, the reason why we aren't succeeding is because, and anybody else's name comes behind the because, the ex, the husband, the children, you've already lost. You've already given away your power. You have the power to be who you need to be. And it's time for us to be empowered stepmothers and move forward in our journey. In closing, I will say today I am actually the life coach for Danielle as well as Ike, because with all of the separation, there was a lot of resentment from her towards her son and her son towards her. So I have been blessed to come to a place to be able to bring the 2 of them together in harmony, to make sure she knows how special she is. I can't replace her. Stepmothers, we're not here to replace people. We are here to add an extra layer of love and support. And you know what? You have to be there to tell the biological mother that. She needs to hear that. I will probably tell Danielle that for the rest of her life. And because of that, that's why now today she'll say, we both love him and Ike has 2 mothers. But I had to be willing to give up and be vulnerable in order to get there. So I wish you guys well on your journey.
Wow. And tell them real quick where they can
order
your book.
The book. Yeah, we are here for the book. So the book is on Amazon and it's on Kindle. So, and our website, all social media at Blending Our Love, and our website is blendingourlove.com.
Good. Okay, so get her book.
Yes.
I mean, because if you think this was powerful, 45 minutes, just think of what she's written in this book. So please, please, please go to Amazon.
Yes.
And get the book.
Please do. And you get a free 30-minute session with the book. And one last thing, up until Saturday, you guys, I'm giving away 5 free books, gifting 5 free books. So DM me your story or your friend's journey, and we're going to read all the stories, and we're going to give 5 free books because we want to help support you all along the way.
And also tell them about your program real quick.
Oh, yeah, the mastermind.
Your mastermind.
Yes, there's a mastermind group starting on February 5th. So join that. And also I do coaching and all that good stuff. So reach out to us.
Where would they find that?
At blendingourlove.com. You'll find everything on Blending Our Love, and Empowered Stepmother is the book.
Okay. Well, thank you so much
Thanks,
for
guys,
joining us.
for
We have to
having
bring
me.
her back because there's
Please
a lot
do.
of
I have
information.
fun talking to girls.
And so thank you for joining us on In the Mix with the Mitchells. And we will see you next week at this time.
Yes.
Talk to you next week, guys. Thank you for joining.
Ciao.
Oh, that was good. I know. Yeah, you can get up there. Thank you so much.
Oh, awesome.
I held your tail long enough.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Ciao. Thanks for joining us.